never bill the nurse anything. Let me be clear. No agency will ever, no reputable agency will ever charge you. So
Okay,
be,
that's good to know.
yes,
Yeah.
do not pay anybody. It is a
Okay.
scam.
It's
If they say,
free.
oh, well, if you pay me
Right.
a
You don't have to
thousand
pay
dollars,
for
I'll get you a
anything.
green card. It's a
Okay,
You
all
just
scam.
get
right.
results. So we point that
Right.
out.
So
Right. And no one can,
I think I missed something. So this F1, the person who has the F1 visa, the expectation is that they have to do their NCLEX before they start the OPT, correct?
yes.
Do they
Okay,
have to do that? Okay.
Yes,
okay,
in the U.S., you will have to do your NCLEX before your. Some people's OPT will start. You get to ask what day you want your OPT to start on. Some
okay,
people say, "Oh, I'm going to take that. I want it to start when I graduate, so I can start, and then I'll take the NCLEX." Some people want it to start after they take the NCLEX. They
mm,
want a month to study and prepare. You really get to make that choice, but you
okay,
can't work. You can't work at all and earn any money until you're on that OPT.
okay. All right,
So.
awesome. So, Linda, I'm going to pass it on to you as the expert nurse so that you can ask
Okay.
questions about specialty and all
Specialty.
the things that you feel like
Sure.
people want to hear.
So I'm actually speaking on behalf of international nurses and foreign nurses, and I just wanted to find out what specialty is there a specialty preference that they have to actually be involved in before they can actually come in and apply it with your company?
Sure. We don't have any specialty. Typically, our jobs are med surge.
Okay.
If you have experience in labor and delivery, ICU, ER in another country, we take that in consideration. But typically, it is that they would like an international nurse to start on med surge, just
Okay.
so they can assess your value, assess your skill level, assess where you are, and place a value on what it is that you want to do. We have several hospitals in the U.S. that will actually put our international students and any nursing graduate for that matter into what they call a nursing residence program. And we have a couple of them, like I said, throughout the US that allow you to work your first year as a med-surg nurse. And then they look at what you're good at. They look at what your skill is, and they allow you that opportunity to go to another floor and try something else out. They educate you and teach you how to do, if you want to go to labor and delivery, they let you spend time on that floor. They teach you, they educate you, they assess your skill. And so we have 3 or 4 hospitals in the US that do that program, so that now when you leave, instead of 3 years as a med-surg nurse, you have 1 year as a med-surg nurse and 2 years as a labor and delivery nurse, or
Awesome.
2 years in an ICU. And that's the magical number in the US is 2 years when they talk about things like travel or switching to a different department. That 2 years
Of
is what is
experience.
typically
Right.
required. So that's why our hospitals do that nurse residency program.
Okay,
And I
great.
will say we have several F1 students that are involved in that program right now. I just started 4 new ones, 2 in August and 2 in September. We'll start at a program like that in New Hampshire, and they love it. In New Hampshire is just over the moon about these nurses and what we've been able to provide for them. And
Okay.
some of them come from another country. Actually, one of them comes from another country, and she was enrolled in the med-surg program because she was she had less than 3 years of experience in her country.
Okay.
So yeah, she was put in the med-surg program, and she's thrilled. So yeah, it's an
Okay.
individual. And then we have other hospitals. I have a phenomenal hospital in Kentucky. That's where I live,
Okay.
that I've developed a rapport with over the last 6 or 7 years, that will take any nurse that I recommend. If I call them
Nice.
and go, hey, listen, I really need you to take this nurse, they're like, no sweat, we'll take
The
her.
relationship you've built, it's
No
been
sweat,
built
we'll
for a
take
long
it.
time. That's
Yeah.
great.
So, I mean, when there are special circumstances and when there are, I'm helping a lady who, just like yourselves, is an immigrant. She came here on our F1 process, or she came to the US on an F1 process and got registered with my old company, loved it, is successful. She now has 6 Taiwanese nurses that she's helped. They're graduating, and she wants me to place them. And it was such an honor. She goes, can you keep them together? And I'm like, let me call Pikeville. So, I'm like, hey, Josh, I
Right.
got 6. And he's like, bring him on. I'll take him. Didn't even
Right.
want to interview him. Like, yep, I'll take him. Bring all 6 to me. So, I mean, we do have, over the course of time, we've developed relationships like that with hospitals. Or
That's great.
we had a doctor from Kenya who wanted to practice as a nurse because he knew the medical license in the U.S. was such a process. He's like, I'll come to the U.S. and be a nurse. Took the NCLEX, passed it, and is now a nurse in the U.S. But he was a doctor from Kenya.
That's great.
Who the immigration
Stacey,
process was too long to become a doctor.
Right.
Oh
United
yeah,
States.
you're right. So Stacey,
So-
I just wanted to find out, because you have more experience and great relationship with this hospital
Sure.
systems. What do they look out for as far as resume? Do they check resumes? What are the
We do.
key points to look out for as far as a foreign nurse?
As a referring nurse, we want to make sure that your education first and foremost is there. I mean, that's of course. And we do require the registered nurse. I know I get a lot of practical nursing or practically registered nurse or LPN or CNA. No, it has to be the registered nurse. So that is a requirement.
So when you
Again-
mean registered nurse, you mean they have actually successfully graduated from a registered nurse program in,
Correct.
for instance, in Ghana,
wherever
Togo,
country
wherever
you're-
country
right.
they went to. Okay.
Right. So it is different. A lot of people think that, what is the one I will commonly see, Ministry of Health and Midwife. That does not mean that you're a registered nurse. And so there's a lot of confusion around that. But again, it's just educating. It's not that we're trying to be difficult. It's a requirement. So again, that is just wherever you are, the registered nurse part of it, and your transcripts. In an interview, it's not so much the resume. We will proof it and help you with it if it doesn't look right. We have sample resumes that we'll send back. In some cases, I've typed the nurse's resume for them because I've needed to get it to the hospital quicker than the nurse can turn it around. So, I've looked at their old resume and reformatted it. And we'll do whatever we can to help.
Right.
And then the main thing is just be honest and ask questions. A hospital, a nurse loves it when you're asked questions. What's my patient ratio? And not necessarily about pay, all those are important questions. What's the patient ratio? What are you looking for as a nurse? Am I going to be required to deal with COVID vaccinated and unvaccinated patients? Those kinds of questions really let the nursing staff at the hospital know that you're interested in being there. Don't be shy. If you are afraid of getting out in there, if you're a new student or a new grad and you're afraid of that 5 or 6 to 1 ratio, talk about that. Let them tell you about their shadow program. All of our nurses go through a program, a mentorship, if you will, or a preceptor, a 10 to 12 week preceptorship program where you work the same shift, the same schedule as your preceptor. And that is a 10 to 12 week. You are with them. Every time they work, you work.
Right.
And that allows you that one-on-one shadow opportunity. And as you start to gain better, as you start to get your feet around who you are and how you are as a nurse, that preceptor will let you take on a patient. And they will ease you into that 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. It does get difficult in the U.S. Nursing is a commodity. It is hard to find good quality nurses. It is the way that the program in the U.S. works.
So
Yes,
Stacey,
I
I
can
want to just piggyback off of what the question Linda asked. So she asked about education. So when you guys are doing like the verifying process, do you work with WES to like kind of translate the qualifications? So if someone in Nigeria studied nursing in the university, do you guys have a way to actually do that translation into like
Evaluation, you mean?
yeah to like
The evaluation
because I know
process?
that people who go through this process to come from other countries to the US, they have to like take their transcripts through WES. So
Right.
do you guys do the same thing as well, or you do the translation yourselves?
Typically, it is translated before it gets to us, but we do have the ability to translate them
Okay.
and take a look at that, because English is going to be with the IELTS, you are going to have to pass that written English and spoken English proficiency exam. So typically things are already translated for us because you're showing your ability to read and write in the U.S. language, in the English language.
Yeah, that brings me back to what score ratings are eligible for
Yes,
this process.
it is that you have to score that in the you have to average a 6.5 or better. And then in speaking, you have to have a 7.
Okay.
So we are, for our requirement, we are hiring what would be considered the high end English speaking. So you can feel confident in hiring green staff and green staff nurses that they are well educated and they can speak English. That
Right.
is a big fear of
Yeah.
international nurses on both sides. Are they
Yep.
going to be able to speak? Are they going to be able to understand me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We work very hard. All of our interviews are conducted video time, face to face. So you get to see the people you're working with. You get to speak to them on a one-on-one level. And if there is a language barrier, typically we've already identified it prior to that interview process. But if a language barrier shows up in that interview process, Green Staff Medical has people, our own staff, that will oftentimes come to us speaking different languages. So we have a gentleman in-house that helps with that. He helps the Green Staff. If we have to speak another language for our job, he teaches that language. So we have him working with our international nurses to help us identify if there's a language barrier, how to fix it. If we have some nurses that are having problems passing the NCLEX, passing the Pearson exam, you can spend an actual one-on-one time with a video coach, just like we're talking, helping you through the English language. We've had some people that have failed the NCLEX a couple of times trying to get that higher score. We have you work with him, and in every case that he's worked with you, you pass the next time you take the NCLEX. So we do have resources to help. Again, it's about being honest and educating. If you'll tell us what the problem is, we'll work around it. We'll try to work around it. We'll throw our resources at it. You know, I recently had someone say, we cover the cost of the nurse's immigration paperwork and we file at premium processing, but we cannot pay for the spouse or the children or your dependents. So I had someone say, I can't afford that. It's $1,300 a person, and she had 4 children. Of course you can't afford that. I couldn't afford that. I live here in the U.S. and I couldn't afford that. We as Green Staff wrote a contract. We paid for it in advance, and starting her second paycheck that she arrives in the U.S., we will start deducting that from your paycheck. Now, we deducted it over the course of a year. It ended up being $50 a month for the first year that she's on contract. That's nothing. $50. That's a couple of trips to Starbucks. I mean, that's nothing. And we were able to help you. Now, of course, there's legal paperwork and all of that, and a loan, but if you will work with us and tell us what the situation is,
right. So the essence is be honest, be open, and just really state what the concern is, because help might just be around the corner.
Right. And if you are,
right,
this happens. People look at different agencies and, oh, this agency's doing this, and oh, this agency's doing this. Just be honest with us and tell us, and we'll tell you if that's, I told somebody the other day, they're like, I'm a new grad and they're offering me $40 an hour. You know what? You should take that, because I can't give you $40 an hour as a new graduate. I just can't. Yeah. That's well beyond a bond, anything that I could give you. If you're honestly, truly getting 40 an hour, you should take it. Sure. And then it came out, well, I heard that it was 40. It's really, and I'm like, oh, okay. So now we get down to the nitty gritty, and you're not, you're getting $28.50, and then you're getting overtime, and your overtime will be 40. Well, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
Your overtime with me will be 45. So if you're being honest and telling me, we want to do what's best for you. And if best for you is not Green Staff, we're okay with that. We just want you to be educated and informed about the decision you're getting ready to make, because it is a lifelong decision and it does have implications, legal implications. You can't just walk away from a contract. There are legal and binding contracts. And so I think a lot of people don't take them seriously. And there are companies out there that sue you. There are companies that don't pursue breaches. A breach in contract would just mean you get your green card and you walk away, or for some reason you walk away from your contract. There are some companies that absolutely do not go after people. And those breaches are crazy, and they're not informed. They're not happy. They didn't make the money they expected to make to begin with. That's why they're breaching. They weren't informed. We don't want those. We don't want breaches. We want to keep you as long as we can. We want to make you happy. We want to make our hospitals happy. So that's why we're going to work with you. And I am, in my position, I am hands-on with you. I will be your best friend during that contract, because you and I are going to talk weekly. We're going to make sure there are no issues, no concerns. Your pay rate's wrong. Somebody on the floor didn't give you the right weekend. I'm going to be your back at the hospital. I'm going to go to bat for you. I'm physically out in the field with you at least once a month, once every other month. I'm meeting with you and your nurse manager. I'm finding those issues. I'm fixing that for you. I'm your support. I want to be the call. I want to be the 911 call. That's my job. That's what I provide. So,
awesome. I do actually have a
important.
question, Stacey.
Sure.
I know you talked about mental, what's it called? Not mental health, because I know the different specialties, and you said medical surgical. Mm-hmm. So as far as medical surgical unit preference, is there a particular like inpatient? I know we have inpatient and outpatient. So as far as the nurses, international, speaking for foreign nurses or international nurses, if they, for instance, they're practicing in the inpatient setting, which of course is the hospital setting.
Right.
We have a lot of outpatients in several, I'm speaking for Nigeria most especially, we have a lot of outpatient, not just hospitals or general hospitals or public hospitals. What if a nurse comes to you and says, I've only worked medical surgical outpatient units, would I be very much eligible for this opportunity?
Absolutely. If you've only worked in the outpatient setting, you can still be eligible for us. That still qualifies you as working as a nurse. And if you meet all those background requirements, the NCLEX and the RN, then yes, there's no problem. And we do have some clinic. We just signed a hospital this week that is in rural Kansas, and it is what is called a community access hospital. And if you were to go there with a serious injury, you would be stabilized and then moved to a larger hospital. And those are called clinical access hospitals. They're usually like 25 bed, 2 or 3 nurses there, cover everything from the ER to the floor. They're very small, but it is more outpatient. It is more put a Band-Aid on. No, that's not broken. Let's get you a referral. It is more of an outpatient setting in that the patients are more transitional, not spending the night, those sort of things. But that is absolutely, something that we can meet. And if you like that, we can probably find you a rural hospital setting somewhere similar to that. So we have all different kinds.
That's great. Thanks for answering all those questions. And I guess I'll call that a wrap with the nurse, because basically you have said everything. And please reach out to Stacey. She is the bomb.
Well, listen, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to help, and anything that we can do. And again, this is a passion of mine. This is what I do. I believe in it. It's Saturday morning in Kentucky. I got up Saturday morning in Kentucky to come and do this, not because I'm not getting paid. I don't, no sponsorship here. I'm doing this because this is what I love, and this is a passion of mine and a passion of my company's. And that's why I know I'm with the right company now. I've learned a lot in this business, and I cannot wait to continue to share it with more and more.
All right. So another thing that I want to highlight again, so there's zero cost implication. All right. So if you're interested in this process, you just need to understand what the contract covers. So Green Staff is going to work with you. They're going to change your status for you. And then you have to read the contract agreement before you sign because you have to take it seriously. And so if it's 3 years you're signing, you have to be able to stick to the 3 years. And after the 3 years, if you want to keep working with Green staff, that's up to you. If you don't want to, you can go on to other hospitals within the US or wherever. Okay, now, Stacy, in regards to just, success matrix, for all the individuals you've worked with, first of all, I'm going to ask this question. What countries do you popularly see people come from? Is it Nigeria, Ghana, India, Mexico? Where do you see that high influx of individuals coming from?
First of all, it is 5,600 hours, which takes you approximately 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay.
If you work the 5,600 hours in 2 years, you're done. If you work overtime, and your overtime hours do count towards your contract.
Okay.
So I just wanted to be clear because I wouldn't want someone to work 36 hours and then take some vacation and not at the end of 3 years not have reached that and go, well, you said 3 years. Well, 5,600 hours. So,
okay.
but
That's
yes,
good. Okay.
but yes, we used to see an influx of nurses from the Philippines, and while that is still a large population, it has been trending more towards the African countries, Ghana, Nigeria. I will say that I have placed some lovely Nigerians, Nigerian F1 students from the Ibu tribe. I mean, I know my students, you know.
That's good.
Right.
And that is a lot of what it is now. And I think that's amazing. And I absolutely love it. There was a town in Beckley, West Virginia, rural West Virginia. And at one point there were probably 40 Nigerian nurses in this little tiny town. And they jokingly called them the Nigerian mafia because they were like, oh, well, let's talk to the Nigerians. They know what's going on. Oh, they can get more nurses here. Oh, the Nigerian mafia can help us. And it wasn't that they were the mafia in a bad way. They meant it in a very loving term, like, hey, here's this great group of nurses, this great group of husbands, children, all from Nigeria. And they taught language classes and they did story time, and in their kids' elementary schools they would cook the Nigerian dish and bring it in. Oh my gosh, I learned so much from the Nigerian mafia that I love it. I absolutely, it was so amazing to me, and I just thought it was
awesome.
the coolest thing ever. So I help you to get involved in the community because I want that to be your home. I want to enroll your kids in school. I want to do those things for you. I want to be that person to help you. So where I used to go in the field and do it, now I do it all remotely, but I'm still there. I still do come out and visit you and take you to dinner and all of that kind of fun stuff. But I love meeting your kids and doing that because I'm a person. I'm a people person.
That's great.
So,
that's wonderful, Stacy.
All right. So for you, Linda, one question. Yeah. So what is one misconception? I mean, I know that you work with clients who are trying to also come into the US and be nurses. What is one misconception or one myth that, they usually just have about this process?
Okay. So one myth that a lot of people have actually asked me and are actually unable to get answers about this and are confused about how to go through this process is the GED and the WIAC. So the WIAC is, it stands for the West African Council exam, which is actually taken after high school. However, in the US, it's called GED, which is the General Educational Developmental Exam. So GED is equivalent with WIAC. So if you have your WIAC results, you can actually evaluate it through the WES, which is the World Educational Services. And they're actually the boards council that actually evaluates all Nigerian, African, different international countries and evaluates their transcripts to American standard. They also have Canadian as well. So with that, once you get your transcripts evaluated to the American standard, if you're trying to come to America, you can actually just use that instead of taking a whole fresh exam with the US. So it's equivalent. You understand what I mean? So they break that down and they actually would grade it. So their GPA of, I think, 4.0. Nigeria, I think their Nigerian is the GPA is 5.0. So they actually break it down to
Mhm.
4.0. You see what I
Okay.
mean? So that is the myth, and it's not taking
Wow.
another fresh
Wow.
exam. No, leave the GED for whoever has not gone through high school. High school. If whoever hasn't gone through high school, leave GED for them to take that exam. But if you have
Wow.
gone through high school in your country and you have taken, for instance, maybe Nigeria, you've taken your WIAC, just evaluate it. It's going to match up with the GED. You see what I mean?
I feel like that's like mind blowing because I know I didn't know that. Some people don't obviously know that. So, guys,
Right.
if you're Nigerian, because I'm Nigerian, so I'm speaking from the Nigerian
Awesome.
standpoint. If you have your WIAC or SSC or NECO, whatever it's called, it's the same as a
As a
GED. So don't,
GED.
right. So
Right.
don't start
United States.
looking for how you're gonna get a GED. It's the same.
It's the
That's
same.
very
Right.
good. That's very good. Awesome. All right.
That
So
is very good.
yeah,
Awesome.
it is. That's a good one. All right, so there's a question in the comments says, I'm coming to school in spring for MBA. I'd like to combine it with nursing. Can I contact you once I arrive to get started? So, Stacey, I mean,
Sure,
we're
absolutely.
at the end of this live. I want to be
Right.
respectful of our time, but
Sure.
just, finish us, end us with just telling us how individuals can contact you.
Okay. I have a couple of different email addresses, and my name is complicated, but I am at Green Staff Medical, and I'm going to slide up a business card here.
Oh,
Just
so it's
everybody
it's
can-
So you
upside
can,
down.
you can
So
screenshot.
Is-
It's upside down. So
see.
it's on the
Is it
other way.
upside down?
No,
Is it?
no. So
No.
I
It's
think
backwards.
it's
I think
backwards.
it's
Yeah,
it's
because
backwards.
Backwards
The
because
camera.
of
it's a
the
selfie.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a selfie.
Oh, that's right. Oh, see, I'm
Are you
not
gonna be able to
technologically
turn it
advanced.
the other way?
So now the whole world knows that
Oh.
Stacey is not technologically advanced. So that's okay. Green Staff Medical, you can always find us. You can ask specifically for me. They will transfer you to me. But if not, and you just want to find us online, greenstaffmedical.com, you can look us up. And also, if you want to find me, I have a little trick. I'm on the WhatsApp app, but my old email address is bestdrugrep@yahoo.com. I am a former drug rep, as I said. So years ago when the internet was invented, because I used to work on paper, believe it or not, before there was such a thing as an internet. And my email address was bestdrugrep@yahoo. So I can be found at bestdrugrep@yahoo, bestmedicalrep@yahoo, Stacey Dixon Turvey @yahoo. But the easiest is just to find me at Green Staff Medical.
All right. Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Thank you.
It
Yes.
does. And I'll
Figure it
definitely
out.
just, type your email address for people who are also going
Yes.
You can actually add it to the comments over there. You can see added
Okay.
comments on your screen. You can just type it there and
Sure.
it will
Okay.
be sent
Now
over.
this is real technologically advanced for me.
Don't worry about it. I'll do it. I'll add it for sure. I have that email address. I'll definitely.
No, I'll put it on there right now.
Yeah.
I just had some fun spell my last name and put my glasses on to make sure I put that period in there. Stacey Turvey. There you are.
Okay. All right. Well, for all those people who hung out with us today throughout this live, I want to say thank you. Definitely tell your friends, family members who are interested in going down this path, looking to, coming to the U.S. as an international nurse or just change your status from an F1 visa to the EB3. Definitely give them or share the link so that they can watch the replay. It'll be on YouTube. We'll put a snippet of it on Instagram, and then they can watch the full video on YouTube for sure.
On YouTube channel.
Other than that, Linda, Stacey,
All right.
it's been a pleasure speaking with you guys.
Same here.
Beautiful Saturday
I have so
morning.
enjoyed
Yes,
this.
it's beautiful.
Ladies, thank you so much for inviting me and letting me speak to your followers. I'm just
You're
so honored to
welcome.
even be here. So thank you all
Thank
so
you for
much.
having.
Please
Thank you.
let me know-
Thank you. Have a
You're
great
so
one.
welcome.
Enjoy your
Please
weekend.
let me know if I can help anyone in any way.
Thank you,
Of course.
Stacey. Bye.
All right,
Bye,
bye.
ladies. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh.
Bye.
Same.